Hey guys, Cookie and Swanee here. There has been quite a bit of rumors circulating lately about Disney shopping around the Star Wars games with other non-EA studios like Activision and Ubisoft. So we have decided to discuss what that would be like, if it's a good idea or not, what the pros and cons of that would be, plus is this likely to even happen, and of course we want to know what opinions you guys have on the subject too. Before we do, we want to give another quick shout out to our partners at Gamefly. If you don't know Gamefly and you're a gamer, that needs to change because Gamefly is a great option for gamers, especially ones that tend to go through games rather quickly. You can get a game through Gamefly, play it through and finish it, and then send it back and get yourself a new one. Gamefly has all the best games too, so you can get basically any game you want. Gamefly also can send movies and DVDs if you're more interested in that. So do us a favor, guys, and follow that link in the description and get yourself hooked up with at least a free 30-day trial to see if Gamefly is right for you or not. We think you'll like it, and of course, it helps us out a ton as well. So we hope you give it a try. And now, let's discuss this circulating rumor about EA potentially losing their Star Wars license. So Swanee, let me ask you this first. Are you excited about the prospect of something like this happening, or are you more concerned?
Well, it's kind of both, to be honest. Well, first of all, these are all just rumors. Normally, we wouldn't really talk about this. We're just sort of discussing if it would be
it is rumors,
beneficial
but
to Star Wars.
It has been talking quite a bit. Or it's been reported quite a bit by a lot of different people.
I have seen a bunch of articles pop up all over the place.
It's not just one random
So
rumor.
it's not like it's just one article and we just sort of go on with it. I have seen quite a few articles about this, and I've seen a lot of people tweet at me about this too. But to answer your question, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. I would like to see EA lose the privilege of making Star Wars games because they've really sucked so far. They've canceled 2 of them, and they've postponed another one, and they've only had 1 game so far, and they got the license back in, 2013? Or something like that?
I think it was 2013, yeah.
13, 14, something. But they've had Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2. Battlefront 2, they obviously dropped the ball on. And we could even say they dropped the ball on the first one, because at launch, that game sucked.
Oh, yeah, easily.
So
if it wasn't for how bad the launch of this game was, we'd be ripping into them even harder about the first one.
Yeah.
But this one just kind of overshadowed it.
But, see, I don't want them to have the license anymore, but if they give it to somebody else, I mean, we're not going to see another Star Wars game for years. It might be 5, 6, 7 years. Who knows how long it would be. That's the only downside.
It shouldn't be that long. I mean, keep in mind, if EA got the license in like 2013 or something, even they were able to pull off something in 2 years. So, I mean, it wasn't
that
like
unfinished piece of
it
garbage.
shouldn't take like 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah, it was a crappy game, but they could at least come up with something good in like 3 years. I don't think we'd have to wait like 6 or 7. That being said, 3 years is still longer than we're expecting 2 as of now. That could become 3 years, so it might not be any different, depending on how long it takes us to get that Respawn game. So. Yeah, you're kind of right because they'd obviously have to make all new plans. They'd have to work on something totally new. But it might honestly be worth it because right now the future looks extremely grim for EA. Or for Star Wars, I should say. But basically Disney sounds like they went after EA because EA had the most studios under them. And they did. They had tons of studios that can make all kinds of different Star Wars games. So it was expected, I believe, from Disney that EA would be able to pump these games out all the time. And there'd be tons of options because there's so many different game developers underneath them.
Well, yeah,
so to only have 2 games in like 5 years.
Making all these new movies.
Awful.
And with all these new movies, they've had 3 movies so far. Going to be a 4th one soon, since Disney got it.
Yep.
And only 2 video games. Like, they should be pumping out video games left and right. They'd be making bukus of money. And
we may have hated The Last Jedi, but they're doing great as far as money and everything else, obviously. Yeah.
They could.
Star Wars movies are doing extremely well.
There's endless possibilities they could do with video games. But they are just dropping the ball big time. I don't know what they're doing. And so I hope that they're looking at other companies. But the problem with that is, like, is rumored that it could go to Activision or Ubisoft, but that doesn't fix the problem. Like, everybody hated Battlefront 2 at launch because of the microtransactions. Them giving it to someone like Activision does not fix that microtransaction problem. I mean, Activision said that they made $4 billion off of microtransactions alone. So if that doesn't tell you that there's obviously going to be a poop ton of microtransactions in Battlefront 2, then I don't know what does. I mean, look at Call of Duty. It has loot crates, and it has microtransactions. Like, it's got... Like, their games are jam-packed with stuff. Destiny 2 is, like, they nickel and dime you. Like, they block off the DLC. Like, if you don't get the DLC, you're basically screwed. Like, your whole game experience is just over. And they don't give you that much bang for your buck for the DLC. And then they have everything, like the shaders and stuff, are all blocked behind paywalls with the microtransactions. So if they give it to Activision, I mean, that it's not going to make it any better. So they're just going to run into the same problems.
I'm not a fan of Activision either. And, I mean, I guess we'll talk about Ubisoft here in a second. But my thing with Activision is the thing that I think pissed people off so much about Battlefront wasn't necessarily that they had microtransactions. It was because the microtransactions were pay to win. And that isn't something Activision's gotten in trouble for yet. Activision has serious issues with Destiny 2. Like, they're overshadowed almost to the EA Battlefront, or maybe it's the same, because I guess we're always talking about Star Wars, but Activision and Destiny 2 is a whole mess that Battlefront fans should be very aware of if they're not, because it's just a mess as well. So, but there's things that Activision has done in past games that EA is just not doing. Like, I mean, like often having the updates and things like that. There's a lot of negatives to Activision, but even as bad as Activision is, I'd still take them over EA. I'd just take anything over EA. EA, in my opinion, is just as bad a company as it gets. I do think that I do think it'd be a positive. It's not a big positive, but at this point, there's almost nothing good about EA at all, other than the fact that they have all those studios, but that has not turned out well either. Like, they have all these studios underneath them, like BioWare and Respawn, and they did have Visceral Games, and of course DICE and everything. And they still have only put out 2 games. That was really the only positive about EA, was that they could put out tons of games, and they haven't done it. So there's nothing positive about EA at all. I think maybe Activision could at least pump out games.
The
maybe.
problem with EA
they can't do much worse.
Is that they just rush these companies to poop out games, and they're not finished.
Yes,
like Mass Effect, they're just like, hey, we want this now, and then it wasn't finished, and then everybody complained, and then it just went downhill.
Yeah.
And they didn't do any DLC for that game
goes
at
further.
all. It just died.
It's Battlefield 4 was a massive rush, and it was horrific for like a month, I think. SimCity was completely broken. EA
Battlefield Hardline was a bomb.
Yep, that was a bomb. That was a few reasons I think that was a bomb. Like, it was an overall kind of like dumb idea, but yeah,
it's just a reoccurring thing. EA gets the titles, like these huge game titles. They release a game. It's the same reoccurring problem. It's either unfinished or something's wrong with it. And then they're just like, we already got your money. Time to make the next game. And it's just over and over and over and over. And we're kind of stuck.
It's disgusting.
It's like, do we want to play our favorite Star Wars game because we love Star Wars? Or do we want to, like... I mean, we're getting screwed over. Like, we have to play... Like, if we want to play Star Wars, we have to go through EA. And EA's just horrible.
Yeah, they're absolute garbage. I don't like the idea of going to Activision. I agree with you on that, but I would take it over EA. I would still consider that a positive. That's what I'm trying to say. I would take Ubisoft over both, but Ubisoft has their problems as well, which is something... I mean, we've played a good bit of Ubisoft games in the past, and they're kind of iffy. I mean, they have their own microtransaction problems. I mean, we played For Honor, which for us was just a complete and utter
For Honor, the servers
lack of potential.
Horrible.
The servers were god awful.
That's an example
Worst experience
of
I've ever
what
had
could have
with
been a good
servers.
game, and they just didn't put the money and the care and the time into it, and then they're just like, no, they try to nickel and dime the servers and made it peer-to-peer, and that doesn't work if your internet sucks. So you couldn't connect to anybody. And then they tried to microtransaction you, and Ubisoft has a bunch of games that just don't work well, like
Yeah.
Watch
Assassin's
Dogs.
Creed
Yeah,
Unity
Watch
was
Dogs.
messed up,
Unity
wasn't it?
was messed up.
I think it was Unity was really messed up.
So I mean,
Watch Dogs
Ubisoft
had a
isn't
lot of
that good
problems.
either. They did a good job
Yeah,
with Assassin's Creed Origins, I thought, but other than that, they have really sucked as of late.
Well, Far Cry's been pretty good as of late. I mean, we'll see what Far Cry 5 is. I know Far Cry Primal did fairly well. I know Far Cry 4 and 3 were really good.
Ubisoft doesn't really have that
So
many multiplayer games.
It's iffy. Not a lot. And if For Honor's our example of multiplayer games for them, that's not a good
Now,
example
For
at all.
Honor, but with like lightsabers, oh, that would be cool. They could just make a Star Wars lightsaber duel game. Oh, buddy.
I mean, I know there's like random videos of that, like turning For Honor into lightsaber battles. It looks epic as shit.
Oh, it'd be so cool.
It would be insane. So, like, Ubisoft has positives. I would take them, but then again, you're right. They don't do a lot with multiplayer, which, I mean, even though I'd like to get some single-player experiences and stuff in Star Wars, multiplayer is still obviously something I want involved as well.
Which company, like game studios, would you like to see make a game, like a Star Wars game? Realistically, because obviously you could say like Rockstar, or CD Projekt Red, or Bethesda.
Everybody's talking about those. Those three are the ones
that's
that
not,
Star Wars
it would
Rockstar
never happen
wouldn't make
because
any sense.
they just do nothing but RPGs. They're not going to have multiplayer games for Star Wars.
Well, Disney would never get with Rockstar. They're not, so that's never going to happen. That with the way they do PR and stuff, yeah, that's.
And
not
it takes
happening.
them years to make games. Like Bethesda, I mean, if they had Star Wars, it would take them years.
They put a
to
lot
do
of
it.
care into it.
I mean, you'd have one really good Star Wars game.
Oh yeah, in like 6 years you'll have a crazy good game, but you're gonna have to wait about.
I mean,
6 or
currently
7
that's
years
better
for
than
that
what
to
EA's
happen.
doing. They're pumping out a suck game every 2 years.
Yeah, I would have. No, I don't know. If they had told you back in 2013 you had to wait for a game in 6 years, that would have really sucked. I mean, I guess it would be really good. We still wouldn't have it
If it was finished.
So,
and
yeah,
if it was like a Skyrim level quality
sucked to wait
Star
that
Wars
long,
game, like an RPG, like that 1313 that got canceled, like there's so many things they could do with Star Wars. I don't know why.
Yeah, Star Wars is an endless universe.
Like them canceling that single player Star Wars game, saying that people don't like single player is like, I want to know whoever is in charge of like EA obviously doesn't play video games. They try to run it from a business, and they don't run it from the mindset of a gamer, and that's how
That's a good
do
point.
it.
I do feel like whoever runs EA has no idea what video games even are or how their audience works. And it's that's why I hate them so much. They also own everything, which drives me insane. They own like every game I love, but they keep like slowly killing all the games I love, and they know I'm stuck with it because I don't have another option in those fields. But that's kind of a separate issue. But so that's another reason I would die to have anybody else take Star Wars at this point. I mean, like, to answer your question, though, like, Bethesda would be nice. They're the first thing that comes to mind, but again, you're right. It would take like 6 years for them to come up with something, but it'd be really, really good. Project Red's kind of the same thing.
I wish Disney would just I mean, they have the money. They could start their own major game studio thing and just pump them out themselves. Like,
maybe.
Or buy
that would
out
take
EA.
forever, because they'd have to like
completely
get everying figured that way. Maybe.
I mean,
I
Disney
know
can
exactly
afford
how that works on the
anything.
business end.
I don't know.
Yeah, they could.
I mean,
They can make
Disney
Marvel
owns
games
Fox and
and all
Marvel
kinds of
and you name it, Disney owns it.
I don't think they own Fox entirely. Do they? Do they own all of it now?
I know that.
Oh, you know what? You're actually... Yeah, you're right. I just realized that. Yeah, they did. Holy shit. Anyway. But yeah, I'm like struggling to think of a studio I'd actually want to take it necessarily. Like I said, I'll take anybody over EA, but there's not somebody off the top of my head like, boy, they'd be really perfect to take it over.
They're just the publisher that's got all these other people beneath them, like DICE and Visceral and Respawn, and there's a poop ton of companies that or game studios that work under EA.
I mean, what about like Microsoft Game Studios?
I don't know. Well, the problem with that is that if Microsoft did it, it would just limit it to Xbox and PC.
Yeah,
gotta be
that would technically work for us, but that would suck
everybody.
for everybody on PlayStation.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be
Disney
pretty
wouldn't
shitty.
go for that. They got to reach as many people as possible.
Yeah, and they shouldn't go for that either.
Now, it would have been
selfish.
really weird if Disney sold the license to EA, and then Microsoft would have bought EA, so Microsoft would have owned EA, and then they would have owned Star Wars.
I feel like Disney could have gotten out of that, though.
Probably.
Yeah, I think
Wonder what's
that
more
they
money,
would have
Microsoft
jumped
or
out of that
Disney?
one.
Oh,
Disney.
that's off topic.
That's the only two. I think Disney probably does, though. If we wanted to go into that, I think they actually do.
I don't know.
But
yeah.
let me. I guess to kind of finish this off would be: do you think this actually is going to happen? Do you think there's any plausibility to Disney actually axing EA and saying goodbye? And I guess if you don't, when would that be a viable option for Disney to just say, "We're out and we're gonna go to somebody else"?
Well, okay, let me ask you this. What if the reason DICE is sucking balls, like as of late, and their patches are really slow to get out and they don't talk to their fans, and like what if the reason DICE is so bad is because they already know behind the scenes that this is probably, like, this might happen, like Disney might pull it out from under EA, and then they might not even be working on the game anymore, so maybe they don't care. Like maybe
That thought's definitely crossed my mind.
maybe it's already going on behind the scenes, because that would justify how horrible of a job they're doing.
Kind of, but then again, if that was happening, I don't know, because we got the news like literally right before we did this podcast. The patch is going to come out on Monday. It almost makes you feel like they would just completely, like, we never would hear anything. I would think if that was happening, maybe.
Yeah, but
I don't
releasing
know. Like, it's
a patch isn't like it's DLC, man. Like, it's just a patch.
no.
I've had
But, like,
multiple games that came out in October, November. They've already had like quadruple the amount of patches that Battlefront's had. Like, it's
Yeah.
sad how little effort that it seems like they're putting into this game. So
I guess that would
something behind
kind
the
of
scenes
excuse
has
it.
to be going on.
Well, it doesn't have to be going on. They really could be this incompetent. That's what we've been believing to this point.
I'm trying to give them the benefit
well, let me
of the
put it this
doubt,
way.
man.
Something behind the scenes is going on. I don't know if it's necessarily Disney. I think something's going on with EA because I think they're holding DICE back. I have no idea why. That's the part. And maybe this would be a reason why. So, I mean, you're on to something there.
I think they're definitely
crossed my
looking
mind,
into it. It might not happen soon. Maybe they're waiting to see if EA can actually turn this around with the DLC and stuff. Like maybe after the Han Solo movie, like maybe if they drop the ball after that, they might consider it. Because the next game's not going to come out for another 2 years. That's an awfully long time to wait to see if EA is going to turn things around. Because they only have a 10-year contract. They have till what, 2023?
I guess it would be 23.
Yeah, so
Because I'm trying to remember when Disney bought Star Wars. Wasn't it 2012? I think they bought Lucasfilm in 2012, and then they gave EA rights to LucasArts, I think, in 2013. Well, not rights to it, but the right to make their video games and stuff.
so they have like
So, yeah, I think it would be
6 years left,
2023.
5 years left. I don't know the exact date that they
And
bought.
they've only got 2 games.
Yeah, so
There's only one on the schedule.
at the pace they're going, they're only going to be able to get 2 more games out, if that.
Yeah. And 3 of them are probably going to be Battlefront.
Yeah.
All from the same franchise. So that would be a complete disaster if that's all EA is able to do.
Yeah, they should have.
And they've already canceled 2 games.
They should have done the same
Like
thing
you
that
said
they did
earlier.
with like Call of Duty or something, and had like people pump out a game every year. Like have this studio work on the game, and then have this studio work on the game, and then they alternate. That way they have 2 years to work on it in between studios. And then like this year should have been a single player. Next year should have been Battlefront. The year after that, single player. The year after that, some other multiplayer. Buy a different studio. They have the studios that can do it. They just, I don't know why they're not.
So not necessarily the games that Call of Duty pumped out, but just the fact that they used 2 different studios. That way they were able to go back and forth and pump one out every year. Yeah, that would have made sense. I mean, they're giving it to different studios anyway. I mean, Respawn, obviously, like we said, is making that one. Visceral was supposed to make one. I don't remember who was supposed to make 1313.
Well, that was before.
So maybe that's what they were trying to do.
That was before the EA.
They kept canceling the games.
Oh.
Oh, that's true. But no, like... But the Visceral one was supposed to come out this year. So I think they may have been planning to do something like that, but because they're... But...
Idiots?
It just doesn't work that way. Yeah. Because they're just idiots, and they keep trying to force everything out. It's just not a good deal. I would say that I don't think this is going to necessarily... I think they are shopping it around, but I think it's going to be a long time before they take it away from EA. Like, I could see this happening maybe towards the end of the year.
It's like they're browsing for a new house. They just don't know if they're going to sell yet.
Yeah, they're not going to buy anytime soon. They're just looking at houses right now. I hope they look at more houses, because I don't want them necessarily to go after those 2 companies for the reasons we said. But
there's just not much of an option. There's not too many other choices that they could go with.
There's not that many options.
But,
yeah, off the top of my head.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it doesn't look good no matter what. Like, they would have to...
Yeah.
Video games, as of late, have just been a major disappointment with all the loot crates and microtransaction crap and companies trying to nickel and dime you. If they would just make it free to play and then add microtransactions or just do cosmetics, like, there's ways that they can make microtransactions work, but they always try to push it just a little bit further every single time. Like, well, last game we did this, maybe they'll go this far, and then they ruin it. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. Hopefully Battlefront 2 was that, like, pinpoint where they finally pushed it too far and people fought back, which they did, which was... Well, that part was good to see. I mean, it's a shame it happened to this
I think
game,
it's just because it's Star Wars.
You know.
Because, obviously, Grand Theft Auto's microtransactions are horrible. Call of Duty's microtransactions are bad. Destiny's microtransactions are bad.
It's also the pay-to-win part of it that I think is getting most people. Yeah. It's the idea that it was increasing your odds of being better at the game. As bad as Grand Theft Auto's crap is, I guess it increases... Grand Theft Auto's
pretty much pay-to-win.
Grand Theft Auto is just not that competitive, though. I never thought of Grand Theft Auto as competitive. It has competitive stuff in it, but I think you can't use that kind of stuff in their actual competitive modes. But as far as, like, just running around, I mean, yeah, it's easier to get killed with a Apache helicopter. Well, so I guess in that way, but...
I'm just saying, you don't screw with Star Wars fans, because they will riot louder than other fans. Like,
there's truth to that.
If they had the same setup in Call of Duty, I don't think the backlash would have been as crazy. There would have been backlash, but, I mean, there's a lot of Star Wars fans.
Yeah. Now, I will say the whole Darth Vader controversy, how he cost like 60,000 points and stuff, that's similar to the whole Grand Theft Auto issue, and they did go crazy over that. And that's not a pay-to-win thing. That's just a... So, you might be onto something with that. Alright guys, so that's our opinions on the whole EA situation and whether or not Disney would actually take the rights from. So let us know, of course, in the comments section what you guys think. We'd really like to hear from you. Maybe you could think of a studio that would be better suited to have Star Wars than EA. Let us know. Whatever you want in the comments section. We'd love to get a conversation going down there. Smash the like button as always. Be sure to check out that Gamefly link we talked about earlier. Also, there's a link to... different Swanee Plays Games and Porgasm t-shirts and mugs in the description as well. And we also have our second channel, Foul Play. There's going to be a link to that as well in the description. Please check that out. We've got new videos. It's basically just, for those who don't know, a channel of non-Star Wars stuff. We play video games and just have fun. So, check that out, and we'll talk to you guys later.
We would be honored if you would join us. You cannot resist